So how did you get into this photography business?
Well, when I was 13, I moved away to Hong Kong, and I lived there with my family, and I was influenced to take photographs to send home to other family members, and my parents realised that I had a bit of a talent for it, was seeing things that they didn't see and angles that they wouldn't imagine taking photographs from. So they bought me a manual 35mm camera and said, if you're going to learn how to be a photographer, you're going to learn like you would to drive. And so I shot film and went to a class when I lived in Hong Kong and fell in love with it, and then came back and lived in the UK and did my GCSEs here, and then decided that I wanted to think about photography seriously as a career. So I'd only ever shot film, I never shot digital, and I went to college with a portfolio, and they said, it was the Bavarian College in Russia, and they said, we don't normally take students on without a GCSE in art, but they looked at my portfolio and they really liked my work, so they did. So I started doing digital and learning Photoshop and things like that, and then college led to uni, and university led to a freelance career, and I've been doing it for 2.5 years. So, yeah.
So what's the freelance work?
It's food. The freelance work is food and lifestyle. So I shoot for restaurants and chefs and food-related companies in the north-west of England. And I do some work in London and Scotland as well, but it's majority of it is in Manchester and Manchester surrounding areas. Yeah.
So what made you decide to take photographs of dogs and pups?
Well, it was never something that I thought I'd do. When I was at uni, there was a girl who photographed dogs for her final major project, and I remember thinking, I'll never do that. I can't imagine getting a dog to sit for a portrait. And I was approached by Freight Publishing up in Scotland, up in Glasgow, and they'd recently come off the back of the success of Pub Dogs of Glasgow, and they were looking for somebody to take on the Manchester contract, and they asked me to do a test shoot. They liked my style based on my food work, and they asked me if they thought I could adapt that to dogs, and I said okay, let's try. And I did a test, and they really liked it, and they sent me the contract. So it wasn't my idea, but I was very heavily involved in the concept, and my book is very different to Pub Dogs of Glasgow that came out last year, and also Pub Dogs of London that comes out this year as well, which is another photographer called Fiona Freud. So each book is a different photographer with a different concept, and mine is a bit more, the aesthetic of the actual place. Whereas Ruben Paris, who shot the Glasgow one, he used a lot of artificial lighting and very stylistic, whereas mine, I just used all natural lighting and just got the dogs to sit in situ and things like that.
So what did you find was the biggest challenge doing this project?
I have to say, from beginning to end, it was an absolute joy. There was nothing that there was challenges along the way and hurdles, but they were all overcome, all things that through the love of the project, it kind of all seamlessly happened. The hardest thing was probably the naughty dogs, because people always say, what about the big dogs? Well, the big dogs are all soft pots, like they'll just sit and all they want is a treat, so if you get a treat they'll sit for you. The naughty dogs were the hardest things, and also the kind of the preened and the polished dogs, but luckily every single owner I met along the way was really lovely, and each one very different, and it was an experience meeting them all and meeting all the dogs. So I know that's quite a boring answer, but there wasn't really anything that challenged me in a way that it made me think, when is this going to be over? Because was
So is
amazing.
there any one particular photograph that you feel is your favourite or stands out for
So
you?
hard. I would say, I don't know, I've fallen in love with every single dog. I wasn't in control of the cover of the book, and I know the cover now. It's been sent to me and it's all secret, but there was no way I could have ever chosen a front cover, because every single dog to me was their own story and their own cute little memory of photographing them. I mean, I photographed my own dog for the book, so that's a personal favourite. A triumph for me was, never did I have to photograph a dog twice. I had to we photographed once on every shoot. However, there was 2 British bulldogs called Bruce and Buster, who we photographed once, and they wouldn't play ball, and I thought, oh, I haven't got a British bulldog in the book at all, like never mind 2, I'm going to be so devastated if I can't get them. So we replanned the shoot at a different venue where the lady also went with her dogs, and it was just us with the dogs in the middle of the day instead of the end of the day, and we really planned it, and I went back and I was determined I was going to get this picture, and I did, and I'd say, apart from my dog Lolly, that's probably one of my favourites, because it was such a personal achievement that I managed to get them in the end.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So when does the book come out?
5th of November this year, 2015, and it will be available in all reputable bookshops, Waterstones, hopefully Magma in the Northern Quarter. It'll be available on Amazon and things like that as well. But it comes out on the 5th, and then there'll be a launch at the end of November, rather when the book comes out, because they want to push it for Christmas. So kind of re-jog people's memories that it is available for Christmas, and that it is a really lovely book to buy for Christmas, because it's a go-to guide of where to go with your dog in Manchester.
So the exhibition at Rise, that's running till when?
Exhibition at Rise was meant to be running until the end of October, but it's been extended due to popularity, so it should be running until the end of November now. And then they'll be coming down, because I do have to return the pictures to the owners. But the picture I talked about earlier of the 2 British bulldogs is actually hopefully going to be put up for kind of a charity auction. So that's something I've got to discuss with James yet. So that might be something to look out for over the next coming weeks.
So anybody who's thinking of perhaps doing or attempting this sort of photography, what sort of advice would you give them?
Never go without treats. I remember when I was given the opportunity to shoot this book, I was so nervous. I mean, not only was it something I'd never done before, but I was 22 with a book contract, and I couldn't quite believe it. And I rang Ruben Paris, who did the Glasgow book, and we had a lengthy phone discussion about it, and I put him on loudspeaker and recorded it so I could go back and listen to what he had to say. And the best pieces of advice he gave me for photographing dogs was, always remember treats, balance them on your nose or on your head so that it looks like the dog's looking at the camera when actually it's looking at the treat, and never photograph a dog from above, because it makes the dog nervous. Always photograph from eye level or below, so the dog feels like you're either equal or he's in control of the situation. Because I didn't think there was much truth in that, and then I did photograph a dog from above, and it got very nervous, and then come down to eye level and they relax a lot more.
Right. So what's your next project after this?
Next project, well, I'm still shooting for running clients for the food photography. So shoot for the Victorian Chop House Company in Manchester. I also shoot for other clients like Filthy Cow and a couple of other smaller names that you probably wouldn't have heard of. I've just signed with Deliveroo, who a food delivery service in the centre of Manchester, so I'm photographing for them. Got a couple of exciting things in the pipeline that I can't talk about, but there's another book concept at the moment which is for food in Manchester. So this is kind of where you go with your dog in Manchester, pubs and bars and food, and because food is what I'm geared up for, it's what I trained in. the next book, I'd really like to be on Manchester food, eateries, where to go, things like that.
So in an ideal world, if you could choose any personal project, anyone at all, what would it be to exhibit?
I would love to travel the world photographing the nation's #1 cuisine. So going to every single country in the world, getting that country to vote for their #1 dish, and then photographing that dish in the style of the country. So Britain's #1 dish, I think, is, last time I read, I did a shoot for the Co-op. I assisted a lady on a shoot for the Co-op, and the nation's 3 top dishes were fajitas, very British, fish and chips, I think, and curry. So yeah, hopefully fish and chips, probably the least healthy but the most British. But I'd like to kind of modern classics, takes on modern classics and things that, you know, you'd go to India and you'd eat a curry, but what's the nation's favourite curry? You know, us as a nation love korma and classic curry, but what do Indian people eat? What's their favourite kind of curry? And I'd love to go and learn about that recipe and blog about it, blog the recipe and then post a photograph, and I'd love to do that all around the world. That's the dream.
So any closing words for you as a photographer and this exhibition? Anything for the future?
I just to, and it's going to sound like I'm plugging myself, but just to check out my work and see, keep an eye on where I'm going. Look, I'm like I said earlier, I was 22 when I got the dog project. I'm now 23. I love what I do, and I want to move forward more. And I'm really proud to be from and part of the Wilmslow community, and I'm proud to represent a Wilmslow photographer. And I just hope that I move forward more in my career. And for anyone watching the video, if you want to check me out on Twitter, it's @Georgie_Glass, and there'll be news on there about the book launch at the end of November, and the book comes out on the 5th, and you'll get to see more lovely photos like this in the book.
Fantastic. Georgie, thank you very, very much.
You're welcome, thank you for your time.